I think it's really unreasonable to expect certain communities who have lived with the fear and trauma of a life-ending virus that's still heavily stigmatized to really give that much of a shit about a bacterial STI that they can take a few pills for and poof, it's gone.
Hey guys, welcome to my channel. This is Kayden, and today I'm very excited because I'm here with Greg Owen, who is one of the co-founders of Owen Prep Now, a fantastic role model and prep advocate.
Thank you.
Hey.
Those are very big words.
Well, deserved. I've been really looking forward to today. Greg is one of the interviewees for How to Stay Positive When You Test Positive, which is coming out later this year. And today I'm going kind of behind the scenes for chat. I think you have a very unique diagnosis story. You were on prep? Were you on prep?
Just about to start.
Just about to start prep.
Yeah.
What happened?
So it was August 2015, and I had managed to get hold of 2 pots of Truvada, which is what we use for prep, from a HIV positive friend who changed his medication. And I went the very next day to have a HIV test to make sure I was HIV negative, because that's the one thing that you have to make sure you're definitely HIV negative. And I went in to Dean Street Express, and the nurse asked me why I was there. I said I'm here for a HIV test, and he asked me what I expected the result to be, and I was like, oh, negative, it's fine. I'm actually just here for, I had like a test a few months ago and it was negative.
So you were telling him?
Yeah, and I was like,
it's
negative, 100% negative.
Don't worry about it.
And I was like, I had loads of sex and loads of condomless sex, but I was convinced it was negative, and I was like, I'm just here for a confirmation test so I can start prep. And then he was like, oh, well, where did you get that from? And I was like, oh, and I told him my friend gave me these 2 pots of Truvada, and he was like, oh, well, that's amazing, you're very lucky because it's, you just can't get it. So I just told this lovely nurse, I was definitely negative, babes. And then it's like, boop, 2 dots, and I was like, oh, are you alright? Like, it was me going, oh, no, not
You said to her,
no,
like,
it was a him, it's the male nurse. But he looked really pale, like they must. So in Dean Street Express, I think they were diagnosing about 1 or 2 people a day in there minimum. So they must come into the staff room in the morning and be like, "Oh, who's going to get the positive one today?"
Greg Owen!
It was me. So that was that. That was my diagnosis story. So
how does it feel to talk about your status? Because you obviously openly talk about your status as well on national television.
I mean, I'm used to that. I'm used to doing it now, so it doesn't faze me. There was a moment before I publicly announced to people at Let's Talk About Gay Sex and Drugs that I had HIV the day after I was diagnosed.
Right.
And then I posted it on social media as I left that event. So
Right.
there was a moment where I thought, do I really want to be the HIV guy? Like, do I want to do this? And then I was like, well, it's a shitty situation, so I'm just going to do it because I just wanted to go back to me and back to normal, for want of a better word.
I mean, the alternative.
It's worse.
That would be.
It's worse. It's much worse.
Secrecy. Yeah.
And I've seen that. So I have loved a handful of people, be it friends or ex-partners or whatever, who have contracted HIV, and some of them didn't and still aren't dealing with it very well. So I've seen the alternative to leading into it. And it's not always easy, and not everyone can do it. I was in a very privileged position, and I acknowledge that. It's not always easy, but the alternative was so much. To me, I saw the reality of the alternative, and it was not appealing to me.
It was dark.
It's dark, and yeah, you've been there, I think, haven't you? How was that?
I'm so lucky. I feel really lucky that I got. It was awful. It was like some of the darkest times of my life. Tons of crystal meth. Turns out none of that took it away.
Well, it's not a cure.
No! And I read somewhere that you can like mix vinegar in something and smoke crystal meth and just cure you of HIV.
Don't do that. It doesn't cure.
It doesn't happen.
HIV. There is currently no cure.
No, it's not a cure. Speaking of a cure, although there is not a cure, there we have U equals U currently, right? 2015, I think, is when CDC acknowledged U equals U as a fact. That's American, right? CDC.
Yeah, it's a little. So it was actually where we started to embrace U equals U, so undetectable equals untransmittable, which means can't pass it on.
Right.
And it was actually when we started to get the preliminary data from the partner study.
Excuse me.
So that was the
What year was
data.
that?
That was, again, 2015. So we had PrEP starting to make the headlines and can't pass it on, undetectable, making the headlines in that 2015 is the year I was diagnosed, and I've written a piece on it called The Year of No Fear. So when people ask how was it like being diagnosed, I was like, well, I'm diagnosed with HIV in 2015, so I have nothing to fear. When I talk about HIV on TV or with friends or in work, I always have to remind the people I'm speaking to that I am speaking about it in a UK stroke European context. Because if we look at it globally, like you and I have free access to healthcare, but globally 40% of people living with HIV don't have access to life-saving treatment. In America, it's 50% of people don't have access.
In America?
Yeah, and you would think in a developed country, but that's because of their healthcare system. And it's just, so when we talk about a cure, people are like, oh yeah, you know, we might have a cure, the early stages of a cure. We don't, by the way.
So done with that, by the way.
Me too. My social media goes nuts every time it happens. But it's like, if we can't get life-saving treatment, which comparatively is costing pennies to what a cure would cost, if we can't get that treatment for financial or political will reasons to people who need it to stay alive, are we really foolish enough to think that those people's lives are going to be worth enough to justify whoever is spending money on a cure for them?
I always think when someone talks to me about a cure, I'd switch off. I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to spend my life hoping and having a lifetime lost. Not just me, like all those lifetimes could be lost while we wait for a cure, which may or may not happen, instead of aiding life with HIV, which, by the way, as you're proof, I'm proof, so many other people living proof that it can be full and amazing and just as rich as life when you're negative.
If not richer, like I would push that a little bit further, because I really take exception to the cure stories that are just clickbait headlines, because I know some people I'm really close to have struggled or are currently still struggling with their HIV status, and if that has a mental and an emotional reaction when you hear cure, whether you need one or want one or not, you react, instinctively, and so that's hard. But a funny thing happened whenever I was diagnosed with HIV. Like, my bullshit factor, which was already quite low, it was quite near the zero mark, went. So I just sort of like
underwater.
Really, it was like negative points. I just I didn't take any bullshit. I didn't fuck around with stuff I didn't want to do. Like, not in an aggressive, egotistical, arrogant way, but I was just like, how often in your life, unless you're faced with a diagnosis of a terminal illness, but how often in your life are you faced with a point where you have to take stock of your life and make a decision about how that's going to be moving forward? And luckily, our health condition is one that we can live with for a very long time, the same as people without HIV. So we're really fortunate that we get to have that moment of taking a real hard look at your life and then making some decisions. So I would say my life is actually richer for having HIV. I mean, I wouldn't want it, I wouldn't choose it.
No, but would you go back and be negative?
No, I wouldn't, because 2 or 3 months in after being diagnosed, and I suddenly was like, it wasn't something that happened, but I was like, something is missing, like something is for me, like something has really changed in me, and I was like, what is it? And I realized then, one of the first times I had sex after I was diagnosed, that it was that white noise in the background, that, oh my god, I'm gonna get HIV, and I was like, you know what, it's a bit shitty that I got it, but oh my god, like all that noise that I didn't hear before, because it was so overwhelming, is gone. And so I noticed the absence of that anxiety, and then anxiety that I never knew I had. So no, I wouldn't go back to being HIV negative.
No,
Jesus Christ. Well, now in the days of PrEP, for sure, if we had PrEP, I would go back to being negative. But
I don't know if I would, you see, because and I used to feel really bad about answering it this way, but the journey it pushed me on has been like, I've never experienced so much growth in my life.
For that, I wouldn't give that up.
And so giving that up would just, I think it would just really hurt. So I can't say that I would go back and be negative.
No.
But then on the other hand, the growth is the one thing that really hurts. There's no growth without pain.
This is true.
And this has been, ugh.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really find it painful.
You're a cold bastard.
No, the opposite actually. I'll tell you why. Because my life was... So I was in a 7-year relationship and we split up, and I lost him, and I lost our flat and my cat and my job, and my mental health was shot. And then I went a little bit bonkers with chemsex, and then I moved into sex work from that. And at the end of, that was the start of 2013, at the end, it was like, that was the whole thing. And then at the end of 2013, I had a failed suicide attempt. The moment that I made that attempt was I was looking in the mirror in the bathroom, and I was looking into my reflection in the mirror at myself, as someone that I didn't really recognize, into my own eyes, and thinking, I don't know where I am, and I don't know how to fix this, But what I do know is not being here tomorrow would be so much easier than being here. I took a handful of sleeping pills and a bottle of vodka, and that was luckily only a few days. Yeah, I mean, a nice kick and a really bad hangover.
Jessica Lange.
So when my life had gone to that point, and I managed to claw my way back from that, when HIV came along, I had already been informed of the worst my life could be, so I was like, I got this.
Okay.
I've been to the gates of doom, and it's not going to be that bad.
Homosexual men who choose to have unprotected
with multiple partners.
Sex with multiple partners.
And taking funds from kids.
Do you want to just comment on this? Yeah, I'm so sorry.
You know what's really funny, what I will comment on, I don't really care, is the guy from NHS England, Jonathan Fielding is his name, was actually struck off and prosecuted for voyeurism the year after he made that.
Naughty.
So it's always the ones that have the most
do you mean
to
sexual
hide.
voyeurism?
Yes, for the patient.
Or just eavesdropping?
No. He's not a gay at a door. So yeah, he was struck off. So, do you know what? Regardless of that press release was viciously homophobic.
And it just reminded me of the rallies I never went to.
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt. I felt like it was AIDS and the 80s, I really did.
Yeah. They use the term unprotected very easily.
The phraseology around that is something that we really need to unpick a little bit. So currently, today where we stand, because we have a full armory of tools, so unprotected sex today would be sex without using PrEP and sex in the absence of U equals U. But these are biomedical inventions that we only really embraced in 2015, in 2012 in the States for PrEP. So if you go back to like the noughties, like in the 90s and the noughties, the only thing we had, and the 80s, the only thing we had was the condom. If your partner is living with HIV and is undetectable, they can't pass it on, so that's protected sex. If you're on PrEP, that's protected sex for you. So there's a difference between condomless sex and unprotected sex.
I learned this, and I think this is really important, and now every time someone says unprotected, I correct them. But I think about other STIs as well, because hepatitis B, for example, there's a vaccine, hepatitis A, HPV. So that's another tool, right? And also information, conversation. Those are all tools that you can use as your protection, as your ammunition, as your armor. But I noticed, just from this conversation, I think when people say unprotected, they mean AIDS, don't they? I mean HIV.
We centered HIV and AIDS because, that was the big killer. Nothing else will really get to you as quick and as bad as HIV and AIDS. Especially if you're a gay, and it's everywhere if you're a gay. So I think it's really, here's the thing with the STI conversation. I think it's really unreasonable, and as a sexual health professional and someone who works in that sector, and I'll say it for the record, I think it's really unreasonable to expect certain communities who have lived with the fear and trauma of a life-ending virus that's still heavily stigmatized to really give that much of a shit about a bacterial STI that they can take a few pills for and poof, it's gone. It's annoying, and we need a public health solution to it. I get it.
We do need a solution.
I'm all for it. I'm not saying I don't care about other STIs, but what I am saying is I care about my community and other people like me who are just coming out of the shadow of that. So we need a really balanced and nuanced and realistic public health response to that.
And I know you care about it.
Your article actually does really well.
Right. I wrote an article, to BB or not to BB, which is on Means Happy, and I do encourage you. It's on my Twitter.
It does encourage you to be.
Yeah, I encourage you to, no, actually, I just wanted to take a shot at condoms, not as a tool, but at their holy status.
Yeah, the holy grail, like the go-to,
right,
the
which they are not. But look at how, when we talk about it, we feel like we have to put our hands up and go, I do care, but because the conversation has been going on a certain way.
And it's really been going on, I think that's it. It's been going on in a certain way.
Right.
And I'm going to push it a little bit further and say, I am sick to death of people who are not like me trying to tell me what I should do with my sex life and what I should care about. Like, I don't want a straight, white, heterosexual woman who's sitting in an office in a public health building somewhere saying, by Karen saying, why can't gay men just wear condoms? I'm sorry, Karen, I'm not interested.
That question really grinds my gear. Why can't you just wear a condom?
We never asked straight people that question.
No, and
Ever.
there's a reason why the morning after pill or contraception is all the rage. It's the fucking condom you can eat. They don't. Straight people. I'm sorry, guys, but you've overpopulated this planet.
I know,
right?
right?
And I mean, thank you.
Thank you, because we're here.
Right, but this is evident of the fact that straight people can't stop fucking. So why are we getting the
It's
blame?
not just that. Let's look at it as well through a slightly
people.
different angle. It's what you center as the norm and acceptable. So if pregnancy is the thing that you want to avoid, as long as you avoid it, we give you a pat on the back. We don't care how you go about doing it. But if gay men, and let's call HIV or pregnancy, if HIV is what we want to avoid, which most of us do, there are parallels. What is the difference? The difference is you would have to be actively supporting the freedom to enjoy and take pleasure from gay sex.
Ha!
In a nutshell, I'm sorry.
You would have to basically agree that it's okay.
Yeah, I condone that. Okay, so you asked me how it's like to talk about HIV on national TV, and I told you that's safe because that's a safe space for me. I'm in control. How does it feel to watch other people debating your sex life circa when you contracted HIV? Because they like to have that chat, people, don't they? They like to jump in and chat about the sex you were having that put you in this position. How do you find that?
Oh, I see what you mean. Well, that's it. I feel like I became easy prey then for people to just tell me what they think I've done wrong, which obviously included being gay, it included condomless sex, it included porn and sex work in general. It was tough. I'm really glad I did it on my own terms though.
Was that like a release valve for facing other things that you had maybe not been facing?
For sure, my mental health and substance use. That's something that I wasn't facing. I grew up with so much self-loathing that I didn't actually even pay attention to my well-being. And when impulse came, and that was followed by me coming out about HIV. Yeah, a lot of things have changed.
I have one more question to ask you. Every time I meet someone who does something in sexual health or sexual health activism or HIV awareness or stigma busting, I always ask why you're doing it. Because there's always something that's really personal.
It is very personal, and people condone me for doing this work. And although I appreciate it, I've never done it not for myself. I mean, I grew up in a world where some things just don't function for people like me, including me. So HIV is one of those things that, there's lots of queer politics that don't work that I want to address in sex work and mental health. So I've been doing it for us. I see myself as part of a bigger picture.
Well done.
Thank you. You're welcome. If I was to look for you on social media, where
Well,
would
actually,
I look?
you can Google me now because I have a Wikipedia page. Just drop that in. It's new. But you can find me on Twitter and you can find me on Instagram.
Great. So today we got a little bit political, but the project itself, the How to Stay Positive When You Test Positive, is not a political project. It's focused on individual recovery. And Sarah, I really hope that whoever you are, you connect with it. Bye. Got a question? Be sure to check out the description below for useful links relevant to this video. This is very off.
Really off topic, but you got some juicy stuff.
Oh my god, so good.
We had a whole series just us two chatting shit.
I know. I think that's probably in our future.
I think so.
Yeah.
Maybe when we get married, Kayden.
Oh! I feel like you just proposed. Where's the ring?
There's nothing there apart
Where's
from a
the
freckle.
ring? Well, you brought the proposal up, so I would expect you to come with some sort of a gift.
I'll have a gift.
The one that keeps on giving? I already have that. Okay, nothing was funnier than this.